Well, welcome again to the Straight Truth Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Philpot, and as always, I'm joined by Pastor Richard Caldwell, the pastor of Founders Baptist Church and also president of Walking in Grace Ministries. Now, for this season of Straight Truth, we have three special guests that are joining us. First, we have Dr. Bruce Ware, professor of Christian theology at the Southern Baptist Theological Seminary, and also Dr. Tom Schreiner, also professor of New Testament at the Southern Baptist Theological Seminary. And these two brothers are pastors and elders at Clifton Baptist Church in Louisville, Kentucky. Lastly, we're joined by Pastor Mike Fabarez, pastor of Compass Bible Church in Southern California. Now, as always, please leave us a comment on social media or on YouTube and let us know what you're thinking about as we discuss these important issues.
All of you men are here this weekend for our Spurgeon Conference, and the topic is holiness. And Bruce is dealing with the holiness of God, and Tom is dealing with holiness in the believer's life, and Mike, you're dealing with holiness in the church. I want to ask you, Mike, if you had to name the number one misconception about the pursuit of holiness in the Christian church, what would you say that is?
Wow, that's a great question. These questions come without prep either. But the greatest misconception, I guess it is akin to what you guys were teaching last night, that this is some kind of, deprivation of what I want, right? That I'm not going to be happy. It's austere. It's, it's going to be a martyrdom of sorts, as opposed to the joy of holiness, right? The freedom, as Tom put it last night, to the freedom to obey, or maybe that was you, Bruce. Freedom to obey. We are set free to obey, and there's something so satisfying in Christ about walking in step with the Spirit. And I think so often it's viewed as a negative. I'm going to be holy. That means I'm going to have to give something up. I'm going to have to suffer. I'm going to not get all the things I want out of life. I can't have fun like everyone else. And, you almost have to experience the joy of a clean conscience and of fellowship with the Lord to know this is great, right? The deceitfulness of sin, as the writer of Hebrews puts it, it can't compare to the joy of really attaining to a level of sanctification, as Paul said, to the Thessalonians. This is what you should do. And he states it so strongly in chapter 4 under threat, like God is caring about the holiness of his children, like Hebrews 12. He will discipline his erring children. But there's a sense in which, even as he writes over all the Thessalonians, what a joy it is to walk in love, to have a sense of progressing sanctification. It's a joyful thing. And, I understand it. We live in a world that's filled and saturated with advertisement, and it's a sexualized culture, and to have fun and to be fulfilled, you got to have these sinful things. But I hope the context of the community of believers within the church gives people a big advertisement. It's a great thing to grow in holiness. It's a great thing to forsake sin, to deny yourself, take up your cross and follow Christ. It's the best way to live, and ultimately is in sync with our inner man, maybe at war with our flesh, our fallenness, but it's a great joy to be holy.
I thought Tom's illustration last night, Tom, would you share that, the illustration you shared about your father and how it seemed restrictive to you at the time, but how it's freedom to you now?
Yeah, when I was young, I worked on my dad's nursery, started in 6th grade. 11 straight years. I would work 50 to 60 hours a week all summer long. All my other friends were basically free to have fun. and I felt, constrained and restrained by that. And I just longed to be free from that. But as life has gone on, I realized, wow, what a gift that was to me. How the discipline he taught me by having to do things I didn't feel like doing day after day, it actually freed me. If I could say something else about holiness, I think just the way people in society think of it, and I think it fits with what Mike said. I think people think if you're holy, you're not normal. You're weird. You're a bizarre person. But biblically, to be holy is to be all that God meant us to be as human beings. We're free to be what God has created us to be, and we're joyful, happy, full, normal persons when we're holy. When we're unholy, we're really abnormal.
That's excellent, Tom. How do we fight against these misconceptions in church ministry? Because some of these misconceptions are natural to us. It's just a matter of sanctification as we learn a different way. But what can we do in practical ways to help people grow through some of these misconceptions? I mean, just hearing you talk about the normality of holiness, I would think that even pastoral modeling is important to that. For people to recognize that pastors, for example, are real people, normal people, and to see holiness in that kind of way. Bruce, what do you think? What are some ways we can help people work through some of these misconceptions?
I think exhibiting the joy of the Lord, that you really find your truest fulfillment, your truest satisfaction in following God and not in turning away from Him. I think it just speaks volumes to people, and certainly it needs to. That can't be hypocritical. That can't be something you're manufacturing. It's got to be the real thing that you have come to see. That your duty in obeying the law of God, the law of Christ, and your delight in finding the best in life go together. These things go together. Duty and delight are necessarily joined in the way in which God calls us. I mean, it's so wonderful, isn't it, that the commands He gives to us are commands that say, enter into life, and enter into fullness of joy. And so we need to live that, and help our people understand that the allurements of the world that offer to them enjoyment and satisfaction will ultimately fail and even destroy if it continues. But the true joy is found in following the ways of the Lord. These commandments I've given to you, that my joy may be in you, says Jesus, and that your joy may be made full. Wow. Praise be to God.
And what I'm about to say, it could be misunderstood. We have to make sure as pastors we're not featuring ourselves.
Yes.
But I'm thinking of a talk Bruce just recently gave in our church, and I actually forget exactly what the topic was, but I think he illustrated holiness in a kind of a paradoxical way. As he taught it, he regularly said, this is an area I fall short in. And I think as pastors, we don't want to focus on ourselves too much, but I think it's good and healthy for us to say that to our people, because otherwise they begin to think of us as a kind of a separate entity from them.
True.
Somehow we're different from them. I mean, I had a student say to me on campus once, I was wearing shorts. He said, "You wear shorts?" Yes, and all kinds of other things I do that are normal. So we need to communicate to people. We don't want to focus too much on sin, but that's part of what it means to be normal, is actually to struggle with sin. And I actually think it was a testimony to Bruce's holiness to share those things.
I often think too about the teaching role of the congregation. Because we teach people about holiness and sanctification from the pulpit. I've often been struck by how I'll have a relationship with someone, and I know the Lord uses that, but then to watch them immersed in the congregation, getting to know our people, and then getting to know godly men, for example, who work various jobs in society, and to see Christ in them has such an impact on them. Now it's not something just taught from a pulpit, it's something lived out in the common everyday ways of life. And in that way, some of those misconceptions are overcome as well.
Think of the old time pastors that did a lot more than modern pastors to get in the lives of people. I was reading about J.C. Ryle's commitment to be in every parishioner's home, to visit them, to be in their workplace. I mean, those are the kinds of things I think that helped put all that into proper context. And they learn who we are. They learn we have knees. They learn all the things that is so often missed in our fragmented society. We were talking about that this morning, and how people are so isolated. And we have an increasing isolation, I think, from each other. And the church and the community should be life lived together. And there should be more of that. And I think that helps in terms of holiness, in terms of what it looks like and how it's practically lived out.
Thanks again for joining us for the Straight Truth podcast. We hope you've enjoyed this episode. Now, you can find links to all of our social media channels by going to our website, straighttruth.net. Now, do us a favor. please go to our YouTube channel and subscribe to these episodes there. We release new episodes every Thursday. Also, go to the iTunes podcast section and leave us a review. Now, Straight Truth is a production of Walking in Grace Ministries. For more information, go to walkingingrace.org.